Well done, well done. What a utter and shambolic mess we find ourselves in every day. It's getting worse and worse and worse. It's a disgusting mess. It's a disgusting mess that we find ourselves in.
All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. This one's going to be very, very explosive. I'm going to try and keep it as balanced as possible, but forgive me if I cannot, because I'm feeling very, very hot-headed at the moment. I mean, our club's not helping out. And honestly, the blame game is now shifting everywhere. Players getting thrown under the bus, players getting singled out, a particular player getting singled out that we've purchased over the last 12 months. I knew, and this is why I tweeted post-match the shambolic performance that we put up against Brighton. Well, to be honest, not even shambolic. Brighton's just absolutely too good for us. They showed their levels. We did not belong in their level. I knew as soon as Todd Boehly and Egbhali entered the dressing room for hour and whatnot, I tweeted out, I cannot wait for Matt Law or The Guardian, Jacob Steinberg, this, that, the other, to come out and talk about all of this stuff, because it can't be kept in. It cannot be kept in. Let's have a look at this headline, and there's so much to go through, and I'm fuming, man. I'm absolutely fuming. In the Todd Boehly and Egbhali dressing room meeting, it is understood that one senior player signed for a large fee in the past 12 months was singled out for heavy criticism. Are you kidding me? This is what you do. You go to a meeting to single out one particular player that you signed over the last 12 months in front of the entire squad for heavy criticism. That player, whose identity is not being disclosed, is believed to be disillusioned with the situation and cut a disgruntled figure in training. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. There's so much more that I'm going to show you. But before I do that, it all started post that Brighton game where Frank Lampard started to throw players under the bus. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say the players are not culpable. They are. But to believe the entire squad, 34, 35 players, they're all culpable? They're all bad? They're all unfit? This is what Frank Lampard's saying? And who's to blame for that? Some fans are saying, they're unfit because of the preseason under Thomas Tuchel. Now you want to throw Thomas Tuchel under the bus as well. The man's not even here. And whose idea was it to go all around USA? There's a fantastic thread I want to just quickly share with you guys, because I think it's important that we talk about this particular thread in conjunction with what, how some people are saying, it was the preseason. That's where it all started. That's where the debacle happened. I just want to show you this thread before we get back into this whole discussion, right? This is a fantastic thread from Chessy Hour. Just like every other time how I use real life hypotheticals to give a good example as to what the situation is. I think here Chessy Hour does a fantastic job. I'm going to go through this with you guys. I'm going to assume a lot of you guys have jobs. So imagine this. So you have been at your company for a little while, let's say 18 months, and have tasted extreme success, achieving multiple honors and accolades. The company gets taken over in a rush transition. Your job is assured because you've done so much for the club. Even when the club was in turmoil, you stood by it and had a pretty decent performance during one of the worst periods your company has found themselves with governmental issues and administration. So once the takeover is complete, you're tasked with the new responsibilities that was never in your job description, but because you loved your job and the place of work, you do it begrudgingly, but the main crux of your role is impacted. Your main task in your role then suddenly gets infringed upon, not by your new line manager, not a director, but the actual owners who has absolutely no experience in your industry, let alone role. In what world would you appreciate that? When you're recognized as one of the best in your field, how acceptable is it for you to be collaborating with people who absolutely have no experience, understanding or appreciation of your working world, telling you how to do your job and how to do it better? What top professional would accept a working environment like that? few. Micromanaging is annoying for the most part, but if I'm being micromanaged, I'd accept it if it were someone with the skill set, experience, and understanding of my work. But from someone who has no clue, now, if you get fired from there, do you have yourself to blame? Absolutely, because you weren't amenable to the new working environment and didn't collaborate as the new owners wanted. But does that blame lay solely on you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These new owners did not make it easy for these players either. They've come in, they've destroyed the whole place, they've got rid of everyone. You should have slowed down. You should have kept a few people just to understand. You didn't understand the club. There's no doubt about that. The new owners never understood the club. Till now, I don't even think they understand the club. They came in, they demolished everyone, got rid of everything, even the medical staff room, the groundsmen, the lot, marketing team, everyone. Players that have been there for a while, they come in and all of a sudden it's a different Chelsea. It's going to take a bit of time. Then you sack Thomas Tuchel, who you probably should have kept on. You've kept on with Graham Potter for so long, unnecessarily, and you couldn't keep a little bit more patience with Thomas Tuchel because of non-footballing reasons. Apparently, he did something very sinister. You had to get rid of him. This is the words that's gone around. You did not make it easy. Just like this particular thread. You're expecting too much from a particular manager that was focused on getting the team right for the new season. It was difficult for the players to go through that particular phase. It was a time to get rid of a lot of players. We didn't focus on getting rid of players. We didn't focus on getting rid of Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, many other players. We just focused on just bringing in all these players, which is fine. We needed players in the summer, but even the summer transfer window, we got played. We got laughed at. Todd Boehly, just looking at every other, what's Arsenal doing? What's Spurs doing? We tried to even steal Richarlison. We tried to hijack Richarlison. We went after Rafinha, and we got played by Barcelona. We got played by Barcelona all throughout the summer window. We were after De Ligt. He didn't want to come. Then you bought in Sterling. You bought in Sterling. You bought in Sterling, and now you're telling me this. A lot of the fan base is saying this is Sterling. Is that fair? I know Sterling hasn't been good, but has the structure been good for Sterling at the moment? He's playing up front by himself along with João Felix. Where's Aubameyang? What's your treatment towards Aubameyang? You brought in Aubameyang. We don't have a proper striker for these wingers to play with. João Felix is copying a lot of heat from the fan base. Every player is copying a heat. This is what I'm trying to say. How can it be every single player? Reece James hasn't been playing well. Mason Mount hasn't been playing well. Kovacic is copying heat. Enzo Fernandez in the last couple of games is now copying heat. Every player is copying heat. Cucurella is copying heat. Koulibaly is copying heat. Chalobah is copying heat. Everyone. Kepa is copying heat. Mendy is copying heat. All of these players, they're not fit. Mentally, they're destroyed, yeah? Mentally, they're weak. We just have a bunch of 30 to 35 players that are useless, yeah? You brought in Chukwuemeka. You brought in Noni Madueke. They don't even feature. Who's mismanaging all of this? Then you bring in Graham Potter, who the players clearly did not respect. But you kept on prolonging. You gave him a 5-year contract on 12 million a year. Whose plan was that? Then when it was the time to get the right manager in, you brought in an interim manager. Let me show you this. You brought in an interim manager with a record like this. Frank Lampard's last 17 matches as a manager, all comps lost. 2-1, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0. Look at this. Last 17 matches, 1 win, 2 draws in all competition. Obviously, that includes Everton. You brought in a manager as an interim with this record. This is your data told you. This is what your data analytics told you, to bring in this guy as your interim manager. You're data driven. You're all about the data analysis. Your data analysis looked at this 17 matches for Frank Lampard in the last in all competition and said, this is your man for interim management. Why even have an interim manager? And you still can't decide till today who your manager is going to be. You're still apparently, as per David Ornstein, some weeks away. You're in the final stage, but in the coming weeks. And apparently the managerial position is wide open for anyone. You want Nagelsmann, go and get him. Let's be serious. Let's be serious for once. You've messed up. Thank you for all the players. And even the players that you brought in January. I get it. You saw an opportunity, you went for it. Fine. But your planning for some of these players are unbelievable. Noni Madueke, what's the plan there? Buddy Shield sometimes doesn't even start now. What's the plan there? I get it in the Champions League, no problems. David Dutcher Fofana, what's the plan there? You're telling me I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to blame the players. And you know what? You've been able to manipulate some of the fans. Kudos to you. You've been able to manipulate some of the fans that actually think you've got it all sorted out. No, you haven't. You've absolutely ruined everything. It did not need to be ruined like this. You needed to come in, you needed to observe for a little while, and you needed to make small little tweaks as you go along until you waited for all of these people like Vivell and Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, all of these people to come in, and then start making some changes step by step. You went gung-ho. And now you have the audacity to go to the dressing room and address these players. I wish some of these players addressed you guys. I truly do. I wish some of these players actually stood up and said, wait a minute. What type of playing condition have you given us? The management, the Chelsea management is an utter joke. Frank Lampard now saying these players are not fit. They can't play to the limit. Whose fault was that? Graham Potter? Well, you're the one who signed Graham Potter. You. And now the fans are bashing everyone because we don't know who this particular player that they're talking about in this particular news. We don't know who it is. And now the fans are bashing every player. Sterling is getting the most heat. Cucurella is getting bashed as well. Koulibaly is getting... I'm actually going to sit here and believe that all of these players are rubbish. You best believe some of these players, if they play for City, well, we know how Sterling was. Even though he missed a few chances, his scoring was still good. Sterling in the earlier parts of this season under Thomas Tuchel was doing good. Sterling in that phase where Graham Potter went through the three-match winning streak where we beat Dortmund as well, Sterling was playing well. Sterling's not a bad player. Has he been poor? Of course, but every single player has been bad. Every single player has been poor. We're at a stage where we are starting to talk negatively on a consistent basis about Joao Felix as well. Mudryk, people laugh at his first touch. He'll get excited in the last match from the little bits and pieces of Mudryk that we saw. This is where our levels are. Just any level of good performance, we think the world of it because we're damn 11th. Owners need to take so much of this blame and start fixing up. Start fixing up. You look at the Newcastle ownership when they took over. Newcastle were in the bottom of the pits. The way they turned their life around in 12 months. Do you ever see Newcastle owners getting so involved, going into the dressing room? I'm not saying don't get involved in. Roman used to do it. A lot of people have been telling me Roman used to do it. No problems. But going out there and singling players out, what do you think the reaction is going to be now against Real Madrid? That's perfect, isn't it? Perfect reaction. I'm going to show you guys more news, how they were saying, it's embarrassing. Of course it's embarrassing, spend 600 million. Don't blame the players, mate. It's not solely on the players. You spend 600 million. No one asked you look, we love the fact that you've spent so much, but no one actually ever imagined. I remember in the January window, I said minimum two players in. If we can get 3, fantastic. No one asked for 6, 7 players because we knew, like, Graham Potter, that's bloated squad. That's going to be very difficult. Bring in some key personnel just to give the team a little bit of a tweak. It was important to get a defensive midfielder. You didn't even get that. It was important to get a defensive midfielder. Fine, you got yourself Enzo Fernandez. Kudos. Fantastic job. Really, really good job, actually. You got yourself David Dutcher Fofana. Well, what was the plan? What was the plan with Aubameyang when clearly we can't score? Newcastle owners, as I said, look at the way they've turned things around. Look at the owners that have brought in serious managers. Man United with Erik ten Hag. Hell, even Brighton with Roberto De Zerbi. Look how quickly they've moved on to him. Many more. Newcastle with Eddie Howe. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've been a Mickey Mouse club, and the owners are they're the top of the food chain to be blamed the most. No two ways about it. No two ways about it. And then the managers, Graham Potter, and now Frank Lampard. I think Frank Lampard's a bit of a yes man. He's just come in and he's just been saying players don't show passion, they don't show any desire, they're not fit. My man, you're not to blame. You're special. You're a top manager. You're a top manager. Yeah, look at the record. You're a top manager. Todd Boehly entered the dressing room after Brighton and described the situation as embarrassing. He left no doubts that him, Egbhali and Wyss had spent 600 million to win and that the players were falling short of expectation. Now, who's more disillusioned here? He actually thought with 600 million spent in January, he was going to start winning the Champions League immediately. He actually thought that. When all the fans, majority, everyone says, you can't just buy and click off your finger, it all changes for you. Where's the chemistry? You can't just grab players from left, right, and center from everyone and just go out and win. Up against teams that are well-gelled, well-drilled. I don't know what they're thinking. Let's just buy whoever, throw it into the mix it all up, and we're going to expect the Champions League. Of course, me as a fan, me being cocky, obviously I was like, hey, our squad's good. We should be going for the Champions League. If we had a serious manager, not under Graham Potter, and certainly not under Frank Lampard, you had Luis Enrique. You had Luis Enrique who wanted the job, and he's disappointed that you didn't give him the job because he was so eager, so motivated to play against Real Madrid. You didn't want to give it to him. You gave it to Frank Lampard. And now you're coming here telling the players you're embarrassed. You spent 600 million and you're singling out players. Those players are getting bashed in social media. Thank you. And now you expect the same players to go out there and perform tomorrow night against Real Madrid. Nice one. Well played. Todd Boehly told the players that Real Madrid was the chance to keep the season alive and give the Chelsea fans something to be proud of. Of course, yeah. Now, look, that part I don't mind. You can say that, but all of the other stuff, an hour passed before Boehly and Egbhali and Wyss were seen exiting the dressing room. And although it's not unusual for owners to speak to the players, one insider said that the whole thing was weird. Of course it was weird. This is an insider saying the whole thing was weird. These are not made up stuff, man. People leaking stuff to Jacob Steinberg, to Matt Law, to people from Guardian. The whole thing was weird. I can only imagine what the outcome's going to be for tomorrow night and for the rest of the season. And for all, the manager, the future manager, I'm sure they're seeing all of this stuff. I'm sure this is a great advert for them, the mess that they're going to be coming into. Frank Lampard reveals his Chelsea players aren't fit enough and lacking the physical capability is what people are mistaking for a lack of hunger and effort. Thank you, Frank. You never seem to take any blame. You just keep throwing players under the bus. Some fans, look, and I'm not saying he's incorrect, but just to blame the players have been put in this situation. We've never had a serious manager. The one serious manager we had, we got rid of him. And then we got all of these Mickey Mouse people. Some fans got off their seat to vent their frustration at Sterling as he reached the dugout area after being subbed off against Brighton. I mean, they're fans. Obviously, they're going to do that. But look at the structure that we had against Brighton. Look how we played against Brighton. First of all, Brighton's far superior. Secondly, we played Sterling and who? Mudryk? Who did we play? Sterling, Mudryk, Enzo Fernandez, Gallagher. Yeah, Gallagher was up front, wasn't he? Enzo Fernandez, Gallagher. I don't remember anymore, man. Kovacic maybe? Or did he come off the bench? I don't even exactly remember. I just want to quickly have a look at that structure because everyone's slamming Sterling, who of course didn't play well. I have no doubts about that. 5-1 for Liverpool against Leeds. Wow. Not taking anything away from Sterling. Okay, so it was Gallagher, Zakaria, Mudryk, Christian Pulisic, and Enzo Fernandez, Raheem Sterling up front. You want to play Raheem Sterling up front and you want to blame him. You want to play Raheem Sterling up front and you want to blame him why he hasn't been good. Yeah, good on you, mate. Good on you. Good structure. Good plan. Good plan. The manager had a mad plan. Great plan. And you want to blame him. Nice one. Nice one. Now, some managerial news. Tottenham Hotspurs are planning to make contact with Luis Enrique and prepare for the potential battle with London rivals Chelsea. It's from Matt Law. Luis Enrique, I think he's put off by Chelsea now. I don't even blame him. There's a feeling Julian Nagelsmann prefers a move to Chelsea over Tottenham. Here's the spinner. By the way. Apparently, sources have told Mailsport that Nagelsmann had expressed to Spurs that he wants time out of the game before returning for the start of the next season. Spurs qualifying for Champions League could prove a factor. I thought Julian Nagelsmann wanted to join us with hook or crook. Now, apparently, there's a spanner in the mix. If Spurs make the Champions League, he could look that way. Okay. Fair enough. Senior members of Chelsea's legal team have contacted the equivalent of Bayern Munich to discuss what it would take in terms of compensation for Julian Nagelsmann. Chelsea is still deciding on manager, but Winston Lee and Stewart flew to Germany to hold face-to-face talks. So as I said, there's going to be a compensation that needs to be paid to Bayern Munich, and that ain't going to be easy. So ladies and gentlemen, you let me know how you feel about this situation. Me personally, I'm fed up, man. I'm fed up. These owners, just let the board members, let Paul Winston Lee, let Lawrence Stewart, let Christopher Vivell, let Joe Shields, all of these people take care of things right now. All you need to do is hurry up and get that new manager. This season's gone. You want to walk up to the dressing room and talk to these players and embarrass them, embarrass one particular player in front of everyone, and also embarrass the playing group, and then expect them to show up against Real Madrid tomorrow night. Forget about this season. You've ruined this season. You've made multiple mistakes. Multiple. Now, sit back. Just have the pen. Get the check ready. Get the documents, whatever, and sign. Listen, sign. Listen to recommendation, sign. Ask your questions whenever you feel like you need clarification. And let's keep it to that. Let's take a step back. Let the footballing people do the footballing jobs. You take a step back, watch from afar, hold people accountable as opposed to getting involved. You going around saying you're going to beat Real Madrid 3-0. That don't help. You're calling players embarrassing. So far, you guys have been very, very embarrassing. That's the honest truth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought about all of this. Smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. I shall see you guys for the live tomorrow for the preview for the Chelsea versus Real Madrid second leg Champions League match. Till then, See ya.